Good evening and welcome to the latest in our series of creative conversations. For those of you that haven't joined us before, these are where we talk to some of the leading industry engineers, producers, songwriters that have worked with Prism Sound over the years. And if you've seen some of our previous ones, we spoke to the likes of Kelly Pribble from Iron Mountain, Mike Stevens, just to name a few. And if you want to check those videos out, they're still available on our YouTube channel at Prism Sound Recording. But tonight, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome MATT SCHWARTZ. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening.
How you doing? You keeping all right?
Very well. Yeah, surviving. You know.
Good. How's the studio? Is that? Can I see the studio in the background, or are you?
Yeah, the studio. Well, it's you are in the center of the studio. It's hard to see all the gear, but yeah, studio is it's beautiful. I'm very lucky with this room. You know, this I know that they my room at the moment. My room used to be a commercial mix room before I took it over and threw away the SSL.
As you do, you know, just throw it away. We don't need that. Fantastic. Well, you know, we want to get under the hood of MATT SCHWARTZ and find a bit about your history and a bit about what's making your creative flow at the moment. So, was it always your ambition to work in music, Matt?
I think so. You know what? But I started off when I was kind of 6 years old, playing violin. I guess that's what gave me the ear to do something. And then when I was 14, I moved to bass guitar and started singing a little bit. And I had lots of friends kind of doing, and I discovered bands and recording, and I was obsessed from, I'd say, 14, 15, 16. I got the bug kind of deep inside me of kind of making music and hanging in studios, and I didn't know it's going to be my career, but at that age you just roll with it. But I kept rolling with it. And it was in my blood from from a very young age. I'm very lucky. I'm very grateful.
I suppose that's something that I think we all got into our different areas of the industry because we just loved creating music, or there's something about music that we just loved, and if money comes out of it, that's a bonus in a way, I suppose.
Yeah. I know it's what, the first time that when somebody goes to a recording studio and never been before. I'm not talking about today recording studio, people go and there's like just a laptop and a couple of speakers in a small room, which is fine. You can get amazing results. But back in the day, you had these big, big studios were big studios. You'd go and be big desks and lights and analog gear everywhere. And I remember the first time I went, I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's like a spaceship. I want to live here.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. I mean, you still get big studios. I love big studios like that. There are certain ones. I don't like them too clean though. I don't like them too laboratory like. But yeah, I think that's what gave me the initial ignition for what was to become my life.
Cool. So with that in mind, I understand you moved to London in the early 90s and you enrolled at Kingston University. What did you study and did it affect your career choice?
I studied sound engineering, music technology, music business studies, and a bit of English, to be honest. But I had really good kind of technical knowledge of how to use a studio, and I came in already kind of knowing how to work a studio. So it was, in a way, it was a little advantage. So I didn't get stuck if I didn't understand something. I kind of knew what to do, what to actually do. And as we always say that university can teach you theoretical ideas but physical ideas in reality, there are a lot more things that that you cannot cover when you do theoretically. You learn a lot more from actually doing things. What the university gave me is the understanding of why does a compressor does what it does. What's a threshold, what's an auxiliary, what's kind of a little bit more depth. And also you meet people that are like-minded, and that's, most people, ignore the fact that the people that you hang with really affect what you do. So other people love what you do and go to the same, university course as you. They you end up kind of creating and doing stuff together, making friends for life, and that's a big part of it. Not only the actual studying, those kind of energies from the people around you. I still have a really, really good friend of mine, James Reynolds, one of the greatest mixing engineers in the UK. We studied together all this time ago, and we stayed friends ever since. We helped each other immensely. He helped me so much at the beginning of my career. Oh my God. It was amazing, but it's you learn. That's how you learn. You learn best when you learn with other people.
Talking of friends, I'm just going to sort of point this out because it's just popped up in the chat. And just for everybody who's watching, if you do have any questions that you want to ask Matt, please put them in the comments field, and we will be able to put those questions to Matt. But somebody who is watching tonight, Matt, is Ruda Silva, and he's just said hi, Matt.
How you doing?
Yeah. So you worked a lot with a lot of diverse acts at the start of your career. Through you work at the Hit House with Farley Jack Master Funk, Rotten Scoundrels, and Matt Jam, through to then moving on to BeatFarm and working with Massive Attack and Tall Paul and Wamdue Project. How did these kind of projects and this kind of work impact your career, and basically how did these opportunities come about for you?
Well, actually, going back to James Reynolds, James is the instigator of the beginning of my career. So, we worked at the Hit House. James called me and said, Matt, let's do something together with this guy. And I came over, and it was a guy that owned lots of health clubs and wanted to do like a Stock Aitken Waterman production company. And decided we are going to be, James and I will be Stock and Aitken. And so that's how we kind of started. So you learn a lot from doing this, developing acts and doing bits and bobs. And then the same thing with BeatFarm. James was working there and introduced me to the owner, and I started working as an engineer throughout, I say from 96 to 98, something like that. 95, yeah, about 96 to 98. And that's kind of 3-year period. And it was an amazing experience because I used to make between a record to 2 records every single day for people. So engineering back in the day used to be someone would come and pay you a little bit of money. You'll make the record, you'll compose the record, you write the record, you put it together, you mix it, and you'll get your engineering fee, and they take the record and do that. Years later, I realized it's like, whoa, what's going on? I'm actually writing pieces of music and writing lyrics and doing stuff, and I didn't know publishing existed. It was, but it was corrected after a while, and that was amazing. And Massive Attack didn't come through the BeatFarm. Massive Attack came through the girl I was working with, my partner at the time, and they got hold of a cassette that I produced for her. That's how long ago it was.
Right.
And they called us out the blue saying, we love your music, would you please write for us? And that was like, a life-changing experience. I didn't realize it at the time because I was like, yes, let's do it, whatever. And my partner was like, oh my God, oh wait, you don't understand, it's Massive Attack. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And that, luckily that they kind of chose the songs that we kind of written and which end up on Mezzanine and end up on a couple of films, which was very cool. And to be honest, for the next kind of year or so, I didn't want to say that I worked with Massive Attack because I wanted to be kind of successful by my own right. But what happened after a year, I realized that we're in show business, and it doesn't really matter whether you're good or you're not good. It only matters who you rub shoulders with and who you're involved with. So, I started saying it, and that can open more and more doors, which became kind of easier to kind of move forward, I guess. But I've learned a lot. from that experience.
Which kind of sort of opens an interesting question, is that, you know, you say you want to focus on your own material, which kind of leads me into my next question for you, but just sort of going off on a tangent, how important do you think that is, that whole relationship thing? You know, do you, you know, you say you wanted to focus on your own things without, you know, really mentioning Massive Attack, but then you realize, well, actually, this could open a lot more doors for me. And I think sometimes people are hesitant to sort of, because people think, you know, you're bragging, but I think we're in an industry where actually it serves you worse by not saying it almost.
That's what it's a catch-22. Are you a show off, or are you, you know, how do you balance what you've done without looking like you bragging? As you say, it's a difficult thing. The reality is that the more people brag about something, the less likely they've done it. And it's, you know, our industry is full of, but we are in showbiz. There's a lot of actors. There's a lot of people that, you know, have inflated egos and dream dreams. And sometimes they believe in what they say, and they invent this whole, you know, people that they work with and whatever it is. And they'll talk about it a lot. And a lot of other people, they don't know, they will fall for it. In our industry, to be honest, to become successful, it is your connections and who you're with that determine how far you will get. And it's the sad reality, but it is the reality, and you got to accept it, because it is show business. You know, we're selling illusions. Every part of us is selling illusions. You know, from writing to creating to artistry to mixing to putting stuff together to even converters. You know, although that's not really an illusion, because that's, you can hear that, you know, when something is good, something is bad. It's not really an illusion, but it helps the illusion, I guess. But it's all about marketing things. You know, you have companies, I'm not going to name names, that will market their products and will have, you know, tens of millions of dollars to market their stuff, which is not very good, but they'll market it, and people, you know, people will actually buy it, and they'll get used to it and go, yeah, it's actually really good. When you compare it to a product that's better, but does not have the same necessarily marketing budget, would you know, fall by the wayside. It's like big movies, you know. There are a lot of great movies that become blockbusters because of the marketing, but they're not actually that good. And then, you know, small movies that never gonna see the light of day when it comes to, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of income.
But I've known you for many years, Matt, and you know, I've always found you, you know, even when I still read about the people you've worked with, your history, some of the stuff that I didn't know about still blows me away. And you've always managed to get that balance quite right. You know, you managed to stay humble, yet you've managed to put yourself out there in such a way that you've remained that sort of humble kind of character, but you've got that personality that, you know, people warm to and they want to work with you. You know, how do you think you've managed to balance it up so well?
Oh, thank you for your kind words. Maybe I was a bit lucky. I don't know. You know, I kept myself to myself most of the time, and just tried to still prove myself through the creative process. And maybe surround myself by a couple. You know, you need somebody to. I think it's healthy maybe to work with other people, or the managers or business partners, that they have that ability to go in the room and go like, I'm this and I'm that, and you know, it's, you know, buy, sell. You know, you need to partner up with people. It's really, really important for you in your career to have partners that help you in areas where you lack. Not that, you know, lacking being a show off is a bad thing. But you know, we live in again, we live in showbiz. We live in a world where you have to play a certain game. People within the business, you know, like I respect you so much, Jody. We have known each other for many, many years, and you know, but it's a real thing. It's not, there's no, you know, there's no showbiz, there's no kind of balloon of fakeness, because I still remember the first time I got the Prism, the 888, and it's blew my mind. It changed my life. I still remember this. It's like somebody unveiled something on the speakers. It's like someone took cloth off the speakers, and the clarity of everything and the depth of everything, it changed everything for me. I started having, hits not long after that.
We'll take all the credit then. That's fine, no problem.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's difficult. I still sometimes get into silly arguments with you saying, "Yeah, converter is not that important," and I'm like,
yeah.
Glasses are not that important if you can't see well. Of course, read a book. Fine.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think it's a balance, isn't it? We all add sort of that little bit of linkage in the chain. So moving on, in the late 90s, I think you sort of created for a better terminology, following of people of your work, and you decided to switch paths and focus on your own career as an artist and a producer. What influenced that decision for you?
I realized that I was making all these dance records for people when I was working, trying to, my life were basically working, getting paid to make, in the BeatFarm especially, a lot of dance records for people. I was getting paid, they were putting the records out, having a great time DJing and doing whatever. I can do that myself. If I do it for them, maybe I can do it for myself. And I remember I actually remember really clearly the kind of period where that change happened, which was in '98. I ended up living on the floor with £100 in my bank account in someone's office. I really reached rock bottom. And then mezzanine obviously happened, and Warner Chappell called me and said, "Hey, hello, we heard you're a great songwriter." And I was like, "What's that?" And the next thing, let's have a meeting. They gave me suddenly lots of money, and I stopped working for other people. I bought my own studio. I was like, I'm going to just focus on this. I met a friend of mine called Gil, who came and helped to kind of develop and kind of do everything. And as I started making music, and I had lots of different friends, DJs, and started going to Ibiza and going to different clubs to kind of see how they play the music. I wasn't DJing yet, but it was really exciting. I had some money, so I could actually afford to make music and not earn money for a little while until money would come in. And I still remember, I think it was 99 or 2000, I can't remember, where one of the records that I've done with a friend of mine, John Ulysses, we went to Ibiza, tested it in a club. He used to play at a place called Space. Then came back to London, changed whatever we needed in the studio, went back to Ibiza, played it in Space, went back to London, changed it in the studio, like that throughout the whole summer. But end of the summer, the record sounded amazing. In that specific club, it sounded incredible. It was brilliant. But yeah, then Gil, my partner, was working with a guy called Muff Winwood, who's one of the legends in our business from back in the day. And he offered us to start a label with Sony, with S2, which we did. And that was an amazing thing to kind of have kind of Sony backing you and helping you with the releases. And then I started my own label, and started putting records out. And then I was having lots of different hits under lots of different names, because I decided that each record is usually, dance records usually one-off, and I didn't have a career as a DJ, so I made everything really simple. I'll call one record, the name of the record and the name of the artist will be the same. I'll just make it really simple for people to remember. And all those things, all this time, I was trying to develop kind of guitar bands and cool stuff and all these things that, but I was failing miserably. It was very annoying. I really believed I could, it was what my passion was, making cool music, making great songs with guitars, and trying to find an icon. I've always kind of was fascinated by working with icons and being a part of the life of an icon, whether it's like David Bowie, like Mick Jagger, like Prince, Freddie Mercury, the amazing artists. But I was failing all the time, and I never saw myself as an artist, although it kind of fell on my lap, and I ended up touring all over the world. I've done hundreds and hundreds of gigs everywhere. But it's I guess somebody else would have appreciated it a little bit more than I did. I like to stay in the studio. That's what my, that's what I feel the best, making records in the studio.
Where you kind of feel most comfortable and at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, yeah, the studios.
It is. It's my second home, although my wife would argue.
It's probably your first home.
But yeah, I still remember, I think it was my first DJ gig was, I think, 2005. And it was insane because I did number one in France with a record called The Drill. And I remember saying to my label manager, I'm like, he goes, "You got to go and DJ in Paris." And I'm like, no, man, I'm not a DJ. How many times I told you? I'm a producer that just, separated. He goes, "Look, you're an artist. It's your record. It's on your label. You got fucking number one. Do it. It'd be fine. It's a small gig, midday." So I went. I'm like, fine, whatever. I practiced. We arrived to Paris. It was midday, and they picked us up in a limousine. And I was like, "What's going on? It's nice." Then we arrived at the place, and my heart sank. It was the Paris Techno Parade. It was 400,000 people. And that was my first gig. And my nerves, oh my God, I still remember I was like a leaf. I was like pale and like a leaf, couldn't talk to me. And but I played, and I still remember, I played. As soon as I played, for some reason, it was like a serenity. It was, everything just calmed down. It was fine. And when I played the Drill at the time, third record, the place erupted. You literally saw all the streets. They closed one of the quarters of Paris. It was an amazing feeling. Probably a feeling you should get when you end your career rather than start it as a DJ.
Right.
And yeah, it was an amazing experience. But I still, as soon as I finished playing, I was like, "Oh, what just happened? I want to go home. I want to go to the studio. I want to be in the studio." Yeah, it's an art. Actually, I've learned through that. I've learned that DJing is an incredible art. And I, in a way, maybe I was looking down on it a little bit beforehand as a producer, not realizing how important the ability to DJ is. I thought you can just spin records or you can do tricks, but it's not at all. It's there. You need to understand that energy in a room full of people. You need to learn how to do that. And I've learned it the hard way. But it was great. It was great. But at the end, before I decided to stop, I was working places all over the world. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And we digress into that DJing thing.
So you've had a lot of aliases over like you say, you put out tracks. So Deepest Blue, The Drill, Dada. All under your aliases of yourself. But then you had two record labels. So you had Destined Records, and with some industry colleagues, you set up Blackgold Records. What was the difference between the output between those two different labels?
Well, Blackgold was a label with Gil Goldberg, and that was with Sony.
Right.
Destin was an independent record, which was my label for the output of all the records I wanted to do with whomever I wanted to do it.
Right.
Gil was running it as well, to begin with, and then after a few years, a couple of other people kind of came on board. But it was more, I just wanted to put lots of records out. And as a record label, really, you can't put too many records out because you get lost, especially unless you have lots of different artists. But I was just one artist with lots of different names. And I still put records out. People don't know, I keep it kind of hidden. I still put records out on some big labels, even today.
Right.
They're doing quite well. But I'd rather just have a name, no face. Nobody knows who's behind the record. And it is amazing. And in one way, it's a really purest form of music connecting with people without them needing to know who's attached to it. Because today, most people, in order for them to like music, they first of all need to like the person that makes that music. It's in our world, people need to connect with it's Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. people want to connect with the person, then they're like, yeah, let's listen to what they're doing, rather than listen to something somebody does and go like, oh, who is that? Doesn't work like that anymore. So it's quite, it's quite fulfilling when you have a record that succeeds without a face or without a physical artist that you're gonna attach to. It's like a piece of art that's disconnected from whomever's done it. Yeah, interesting.
Okay. We're starting to get some questions coming, but what I'm going to do is try and sort of tie up this section, because I'm basically just I'm spending the first sort of half an hour going through to try and get you to the present day for sort of through your recent years of career. We're going to come on to talk about some of the artists you actually have worked with shortly, but you've achieved success with music for TV, and you had a particular feature track on Sky Sports for over 3 years. How did that come about, and did that lead on to other projects for you in the film and TV sector, or having your music featured within film and TV?
Well, I think I was quite fairly lucky with the kind of film and TV, because it was never necessarily specific. Maybe a couple of times, but it was never specific. I want to write something for TV. They usually picked up one of my records and were like, we want that section. That section will become whether it's a string section or whether it's a piece of music. And over the years, yeah, lots of different movies, now lots of different Netflix or Prime or whatever it is that's happening. There's a lot of syncs and that come in. It's exciting, I usually authorize everything. I say yes to everything, unless I see what it's about. If it's something that kind of don't support, which usually it doesn't happen, then I'll stop it. But generally, I'm happy that people want to enjoy the music, and a lot of times now, also the music that is being synced is music that I produce and write for other artists. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I have a lot of friends that kind of write music for TV and for film. A lot of times, though, they have to pitch, and I find this very laborious myself. I did that for a while, was pitching songs for artists, and it's a tough, it's tough industry.
So with that in mind, and to be honest with you, from when I've started working in this industry, and I'm sure it's the same for yourself, it's changed dramatically. And I think, whereas there was a time where a long time ago where you could go, oh, well, we'll work on this album and we've got an income stream from this album. You've got to have those multiple income streams now. And do you think it's changed for a lot of producers, songwriters, where how can I put this? You have to be more multifaceted, and you have to have a more open mind about saying, well, okay, we've got an income stream coming here, and there's this one and that one, and you've got to have a more of a diverse array business sense.
Very much so. Yeah, I think you have to, if you enter this business. I have friends of mine who make their money from crypto. I have different people that have different businesses. Some people own houses and they're still trying to make music, but they don't earn money from the music, but they still have, a couple of houses that they make money from. I never got into crypto houses, unfortunately, but I'm grateful to be able to do what I do with music. It's today income stream is, although it's getting better with streaming, you still need to, if you work with artists, you still need to kind of figure out a way of how to supplement it with other things. And I'm not going to say names. One of an artist that used to be one of the biggest artists in the world approached me and wanted me to give them one of my songs. And that artist is not selling. I'm trying to stay. I'm not saying names. They used to sell millions, if not tens of millions of records. Now they won't sell any records. And I said, you know what? You're making a lot of money from your live gigs. this is your income.
Mm.
I'll give you the record. I know you're not going to get any radio because you're too old. That's the reality. You know, it's unfortunate, and our industry is ageist, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But I need to feed my kids. I need to. I've got a business to run. I would like a small share of your life income. And their management was like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not actually crazy because I've got another artist that's interested in the same record, and she's hot, and you know, as in hot artist, not hot as and
I get where you go. Yeah, I get where you go.
I'd rather give it to her.
Don't dig your hole. Don't dig your hole, Matt.
Yes, she's more likely to sell records. And yeah, and I was right, because the album of that person sold maybe 70 copies, which was incredible to see an artist that's kind of from selling tens of millions of records to actually selling nothing. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But so we have to figure out a way of how to get more income from other sources. If you think about it for a second, music and songs is the only commodity that over the years have gone down in price compared to anything else. We used to sell a single for £3.99 in the 90s. Now we're selling it for 99p. Now we're not even selling it. There's no income.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it's streaming, but that's the problem. You know, our industry is reducing the income from the songs. And you've got what's called NRI, which is non-recorded income, which a lot of artists supplement, where people pay them to post a picture on Instagram, or do something on TikTok. Or you've got the live gigs, you've got sponsorships. Why shouldn't creative people share a little part of that as well? It's only fair to keep the business going. You know, you have to maintain the creative people that are not out there doing things. You have to. I'm not talking about giving them, 20, 10%, 5%. I'm talking about, giving 0 point something percent from all those things to help, help our business grow.
Because I suppose at the end of the day, it comes down the food chain, and you've got the artist at the top of the tree, and then you've got the support team, their management, and then you've got the producers and the songwriters and the engineers, and then we as a manufacturer of equipment is reliant on you guys buying gear from us. So it comes all the way down the food chain to right down to the chip manufacturers that are working in the factory. So it's I completely understand it. We've got to adapt and accept the new way of working that we're in.
Yeah, they've been trying to do that with Spotify. They've been trying to do that actually with streaming. They've been trying to change the splits, but there's a massive push against it, to give kind of, I guess, songwriters a bit more extra, or producers. But it's a difficult thing to change. It's big giants.
Yeah, you're battling against the giants, but hey, if we can all come together and join together and battle that, let's see what we can do. Okay, so we've talked about the film and TV, but you've worked with an array of projects and artists, including I've just listed here Kylie Minogue, Ollie Murs, Robbie Williams, Pitbull, Union J, through to, and then you probably shoot me for saying this, even the Eurovision Song Contest stuff that you've done. And with this in mind, do you prefer collaborating with artists or working on your own material, or do you think they each have their own individual attraction?
Definitely collaborating with artists. I used to love working by myself. Now I love working with people. I find people's energy is what's driving me. I changed my whole psyche on how things should work. But also when I was younger, I was more of an artist myself, as I said, so I preferred to kind of do things. I knew what I wanted. I just couldn't sing, or couldn't sing in an English accent, which I found horrible. And I think artists, the greatest artists, that's the one thing that I've come to realize, the greatest artists are creative beings that inspire others, inspire you. I'm at my best when the person I work with is inspiring me. If they do not inspire, if I need to inspire them as a producer or as a songwriter, they're not artists.
Sure.
They're manufactured. You just write the songs for people to generate money. For me, artists are people that write their own songs, collaborate with people to write their own songs, have vision, have dreams, have, and engulf and, pull everybody in, into their world to kind of create like that. That's, Kylie, a good example. Kylie just didn't, she was just inspiring, but we didn't actually, when she did the vocal on the record, she was incredible. But people like, if we go now to YUNGBLUD and people like that are absolutely mesmerizing in the studio. They bring this thing, this energy that inspires you to write, to become a better writer, to become a better producer, to become a better engineer, whatever it is. And that's one of the keys that, as I said, if you go, if we go back to slightly earlier in the conversation, I said to you, it's imperative that you surround yourself by the right people. Whether it's management, whether it's the artists that you work with, whether it's the musicians that you work with, the singers that you work with, other producers and songwriters and musicians that you work with. You need people. You need to work with people to inspire you and fulfill a place that you don't feel that you are. Either you have it or you shouldn't have it. A producer should not be inspiring an artist. That's the one thing I've learned. An artist should inspire a producer.
So with that in mind, I'm going to jump onto some of the start to bring in some of the questions that we're getting in the comments field. So at 7:25, we had a question from Record Recordings. Do artists and producers approach you, or do you reach out to them? And what is your own A&R strategy for people to work with?
Both, actually. Although now it's I don't have much time. Usually artists can approach me now, but before that I was always looking. I am still always looking, but there's not a lot of time. Most of the time I'm in the studio 7 days a week nearly. So if I find somebody I absolutely love, I'll try and reach out to them. I try and develop artists now. I found kind of my strength in the last few years is developing artists. So I make sure that I find somebody that I believe has enough time to grow and has a vision, and work with them and help them achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. What's your A&R strategy for people to work with? I think the artists should be the A&R of the creative A&R of themselves. As far as A&Ring it, I'm not necessarily a label. I'm a production company, but a record, an A&R in a record label is somebody that's supposed to help the artist bring their vision to life as well, and with the record company with all the budget and put everything all together. Although these two different types of A&R, but I won't digress with that. There's a creative A&R and there's I'm the boss A&R.
Right.
And yeah, that A&R records, A&Rs that decide what's going to be on the record, which songs will go on the record. It's important for some types of artists, or you've got A&Rs that would give the artist the opportunity to choose whichever records go on their own records, on their own album, which songs they want to put out, which I find, nicer.
Yeah. So with that in mind, and you just mentioned it, this is kind of sort of wrapping up this section of our conversation. I'm aware of this, that recently you've been working with YUNGBLUD and not only producing but co-writing, and that includes the collaboration with KSI as well. How has this been compared to when you started? How has your workflow changed and adapted over the years? But also, I believe you had a unique position during the COVID lockdown because you were based, I believe, in LA with YUNGBLUD, and you had to, I would call it sort of the opportunity to go a bit old school, where you in effect got a lock in at a studio, and you could just pretty much get the album done in one go rather than sort of dropping in and out. You know, how was that for you?
Well, to be honest, YUNGBLUD Dom is Dom has all the potential in the world to become like one of the greatest icons to come out of the UK. His rise is meteoric because of he chose his own path now. And in the beginning, I mean, we've done an album last year, in December last year. We finished an album, which probably it's not going to be this album that's coming out now. It's going to be the one after. It's just bizarre how it all kind of works. But yeah, it's the first time I met him, he's going to tell you himself. I threw him out the room. I was like, you know, if you want to be an artist, be an artist. Find what bothers you, what you want to talk about. Represent the culture, build the culture, become that person. This is a great sentence I'm going to take from a movie that I heard. I think Rocketman, which I said something similar to him before that movie came out. But if you want to be an icon, you got to kill the person you were born in order to become the person you want to be. And it's so true. It is so true for that little, slice of the artistic population that are actually able to do that and follow it through. Most people can't do that. Most people want to do that, but don't have the, that switch that needs to kind of be switched. Dom switched it and became YUNGBLUD.
Right.
And it was an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to watch happening. Incredible. Yeah, I'm very grateful to kind of be a part of his journey. It's we've got a lot of great stuff coming up. So yeah, in a way, I never before Dom, I didn't pay enough attention for artists inspiring producers. Dom came into my life at that point where I realized that an artist needs to inspire a producer and a songwriter. Right. And he made me a better songwriter. He made me a better producer. Why? I'm not doing much different than what I was doing before, but everything just falling into place better. It's just the way, it is what it is. Now I don't waste time. If someone doesn't inspire me, it's not going to work. I'm not going to sit and inspire people. People need to inspire me, and then I'll inspire them tenfold.
See, when I've spoken to you, whether it's on the phone or, I've been down at the studio recently, well, not so much in COVID, but I'm talking recently in the last two to 3 years, you've raved about the way you work with YUNGBLUD. And it kind of leads me on to a question that Gregory Johnson posed at 7:33. He said, and it might be a YUNGBLUD track, it might be another track, but it'd be interesting to see what you say about this. Is if you could pick one song you've created that is a must listen, what would it be? A song that makes you personally smile from your heart when you hear it.
Oh God, you can't do that. It's like, which one of your kids do you like more? Do you like this one? This one? I got all of them have so many stories to that can attach. It's not necessarily. If I could pick something from the last few years that was kind of unique, was maybe it's 11 minutes with YUNGBLUD and Halsey, but it's because I've been in the studio with Dom and Bryn, who's another artist I work with. She's incredible, and that record kind of changed everything for a lot of things, and it was an amazing. It was a very special session. So maybe that is a kind of a good lyrical journey. It's quite dark. I like to write about dark things, and but there's so many. I mean, I guess the drill as well is still being played now, and record companies still want to do new versions of it now. It took me 6 hours to make it. I didn't even think when I was doing it. It's an interesting record to listen to. It's very simple. It's an instrumental. But it always, it just always still always works. And I was testing a reverb when I was making it, so it's attached to a very funny story. I did it because I was testing a reverb, and it became probably my biggest dance record ever. So it's worth kind of listening to that. Yeah, it is very difficult for me to pinpoint one record to go like, this is the most kind of special record that I've ever done. It's I don't think I've done it yet.
Yeah, like you say, it's like choosing your favorite child. It's almost pretty much impossible, because I suppose each one has its own special characteristics because it pinpoints a moment in time.
Yeah, it could be that I haven't done it yet. I don't know. It's the road is still winding.
Well, Gregory's just posted again. He's just said thank you for answering. He's going to go and check it out. So at least you've got somebody who's going to go and check that out. You've answered his questions. So that's great. If you were to sum it up, what do you think makes a great song?
It really is. Usually I like when people write about things that's close to their heart. I like to write about concepts and experiences that people go through. So if you're talking about something that you feel through your own experience, something that really means something to you, that's not a love song, then I'm all up for it. I like protest songs. I like to talk about things that are difficult, from child abuse to suicide to self-harm. I like to tackle subjects that people didn't like to talk about. I've done a lot with them. We touched a lot of subjects that are quite dark. You can mask it in a fun way. Like, a great example, I realized many years later, like Luca by Susan Vega, I didn't know what the song was about. It's such a lovely song, and I grew up as a child listening, oh, it's so nice, not realizing the song is about child abuse. And it's like, wow, what? And you realize how much power you have with lyrics, power that's, I don't want to say got lost, because it's back now and people are talking and are talking about things like that, but for a little while people kind of ignored it. Sometimes it's good just to have mindless fun, with music. Ice cream. Sometimes it's good to have nutritional meal, and sometimes it's nice to have an ice cream. It's fine. It's fine to do both. I like doing both. But as far as songs that would resonate with people, the lyrics I think are crucial. So yeah.
Do you think we're I know we're in an we've already touched on this, that we're in an entertainment industry and we have to accept that there's different types of entertainment for different demographics on the planet. But do you sometimes think that we've, in certain respects, come to a formulaic structure where a lot of things, because of personal feelings or personal perspectives on things, have become a little bit too vanilla, and people are scared to take risks with what they write about or what they discuss in songs? Or do you think that that fight within people is still there in certain respects?
It depends why you're doing it. If you want to copy Ed Sheeran and be like Ed Sheeran, then you're not adding anything new to the industry, because there's already Ed Sheeran. He's done his thing. He owns that space. I think people always need to challenge themselves to do something that hasn't been done before.
Right.
This is this is not only true in music, it's true in every aspect of life. If we don't, not doing it means no progress. And the worst thing that anybody can do in their life is be stagnated. There's nothing worse. Being stagnated means you have no purpose. And no purpose means you don't live. So you always have to stretch it forward. Don't it's all right to have a vanilla day. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're human. We're not always we're allowed to have these things, but generally the whole energy that you should put forward as an artist is pushing things, pushing things to places that haven't been done before. And every record that I do, I try to do something I've never done before. Or it could be anything. It could be a hi-hat pattern. It could be different EQ on the bass. It could be just something that I haven't done before in one section. It could be, obviously different words as well, and different melodies, different rhythms. It makes it more fun as well. The staying safe is a kiss of death in our business.
Yeah. That's right. Do you know what? That's great to hear you say that, because I think sometimes this is just my personal opinion, and we're talking, it's your opinion really, but I just want to say that sometimes I feel that it's so easy for us to sort of go, oh well, people to go, I'll use this plugin, or I'll do that because that's what everybody else does. And then I kind of, some people may not even have heard this guy now, but Joe Meek, where he throws a microphone down a set of stairs, or shoves a mic down a lift shaft to try and get a different type of reverb. But it's about experimentation, and it's what great tracks and records are made from. It's like I always look at the Paul Simon and You Can Call Me Al, and that bass guitar riff that's in there, and a lot of people go, oh, no, I don't know how he played that. It's like, well, he didn't. They cut it in half and then reversed the track, and it's actually the tape reverse on the other half of it. That's how they did it, But I think that's the thing. Is, like you say, it's about doing new things and just experimenting that creates what that magic is about the music industry.
Yeah. It's also what should excite people, do things that haven't been done before. I mean, once you start making music, everything is new to you. Once you start understanding the process of making music, and you realize, a lot of things have been done already in the past. Drum and bass. I heard drum and bass, Jimi Hendrix doing the drum and bass, rhythms like. It was like, first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this was done before. I thought it was just invented as it was. But it's we tend to kind of, everything tends to kind of become a cycle, I look forward every time to doing something new. I look forward to exciting artists, to edgy artists that want to stretch the imagination. At the same time, and I think a lot of record companies kind of have gravitated for me to work with people lately, is because I have a commercial sensibility. Whilst I like edge, I like it to be, just left enough not to alienate a person that loves music and listens to music, but actually capture the ear and go like, wow, it's it's amazing, it's whatever it is. Well, you try and do that. And I saw somebody was asking as well if I mix and master my own records, which I kind of do usually.
Let me just, for anybody that's missed that, let me just pop back up. That's from Laura Clark at 7:31. So for everybody, hi Matt, I was wondering whether you mix and master your own track productions, or do you need more ears for that process?
Yeah, I usually mix and master, but it's completely, I when I make a record, I don't mind whether I mix or master it. I try and master. I try to make the bass mix, and I try to master it. But sometimes I'll send it to a mastering engineer. Sometimes I'll, there's a great guy called Jordan that I use, or Sterling. It depends. Sometimes somebody else mix it. Sometimes I'll have someone write a song, and I'll give it to somebody else to produce. Sometimes I'll produce somebody else's song or rewrite or fix. I don't, I'm a little bit obsessed with mixing my own productions, which is a bit, can be a bit of annoying for other people. It's like, well, we want somebody else. We want to spend, I'm like, you already paid lots of money, so just it's okay. And they go, yeah, but we want to pay lots more money to another person to mix it as well. I'm like, God, I'm always happy when they go with my mix. But it's I don't really mind, because at the end of the day, I want to press play on a record, and I want it to I want you to forget. I want people that listen to forget what's going on. I think that's the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Ears at
in
the
your
by the way, sorry,
go
sorry, Jody, but one more thing. Do I need more ears for that process? Yes, the ears should be the artist's ears. The artists
right.
need to say whether they like it. The artists need to say their comments. After they say their comments, obviously, some A&Rs from record companies will say, yeah, maybe you should turn the hi-hat up or do that. I once on a hip hop record had an A&R telling me, hey, can you add tambourine in the verse on a hip hop record? I was like, no. But I did, because you wanted it sounded so bad, ridiculous. Luckily, it
So,
didn't
do you
stay.
think
But
it kind of fits with what you were saying earlier, though, doesn't it? You were saying about working and collaborating with the artist. At the end of the day, all right, there are. We both know A&R people in the industry that do have golden ears, and they can go, oh, actually, it just needs to be this. But at the end of the day, it really is the artist's vision and your collaboration with the artist that really is that creative magic and make creative spark. So, it's interesting that you say that it's the artist that needs to be impressed. It's the art, because I suppose it's the artist's vision. They've got a vision in their mind of how they want this to be, and if it's not hitting that, then they're the only ones that can kind of describe it to you to try and get to that point.
yeah, completely. It is crucial that they have their stamp, their emotional stamp on the record, when they listen to something. Another thing, it's very difficult to identify what's right or wrong in our business as well. Because it's creative. How can you tell somebody that your mix is distorted? But I like it distorted. It's like, but it's wrong. But it's not wrong to me. So you sometimes get into the situation. It's like, I don't know what to say to that. But I like it. It's distorted. Yeah, it sounds crap, but I like it. And it's like, okay, I've had records that are demos that came out because the label was like, just leave it, don't touch it. The artist was like, leave it, don't touch it. Finished, it's done. I'm like, but it's not finished. And it sounded, it's sometimes you hear it on the radio and it sounds amazing on the radio. Happened a couple of times, when using the radio record on the radio, it's like, wow, it just sounds amazing. Yeah, the actually the KSI record earlier in the year and Polo G and Dom, that was a great challenge. That was a great challenge, because bringing both of them together, two different worlds, KSI and Dom and Youngblood, they're like represent two different things. But they really liked each other. They always wanted to kind of work together. I was just trying to kind of bring the worlds and find something that kind of belongs to both of them somehow. Apology was an amazing surprise when he kind of jumped on the record. But it took a while to get that record right. That's for sure. I got KSI to sing.
So obviously, that was an interesting project for you to work on. But would you say, what has been your most unique experience that you've had when working with an artist? And sort of extending on from that, when you are working with an artist, how do you deal with these sensitive issues like what you've just described about? Well, it's not quite finished, and actually, we should do this and we should do that. How two questions really. What has been your most unique experience, and how do you deal with those difficult situations?
Unique experience. I can't say his name. It's an artist that I went and I went to a residential studio for a few weeks, and on the on the first, we've done a couple of records beforehand, which was great, and on the first day in the residential studio, which was beautiful, he came down, and I've been adding instruments as I was doing before. He goes, "You gotta take it down the record." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been done." And he went like, "Don't F with my music. Don't do that. What are you doing? I'm like, oh my god, it's the first day. We got a few weeks here. What happened? It was hilarious. And then I found out that he quit drinking. Like, he just quit drinking. I didn't know he quit whatever, and the session went pear shaped. The whole session that was the most unique session I think I had. I still remember this. It scarred me to kind of have an artist like completely break down, and we couldn't quite pull it together. We did album, but it didn't come out as good as it could. Even though sometimes you think, these kind of issues would drive you to do creative things. I know that producers that thrive on this, they would actually tell the drummer, the bass player said you shit, or tell excuse my French, or tell the bass player, the drummer said you really, out of time, or the singer, and try to create fights inside the band. There's a couple of famous, but I'm not gonna say names again. But they got some amazing albums out of it.
Yeah,
band members absolutely detest themselves, each other. What was the second question?
The second one was how and that you might want to use the same example, about the project that you had at the residential place. Is how do you approach these sensitive tasks of discussing, having difficult conversations, whether that's be someone blowing their top or whatever it might be.
He was a really big guy. I had to run. It was a really big guy. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me. Well, you try. You sometimes have to take a deep breath and look with sometimes it can get intense in the studio. If me and YUNGBLUD, we can end up shouting, like proper shouting match in the studio. It can get very, very emotionally, tense. But it's okay as long as you kind of know. Sometimes you kind of cross a little red line and it becomes a bit, can become a bit annoying. I mean, there's a famous story about Trevor and Seal throwing each other on the mixing desk. I can't remember who's done who. But I can definitely relate to that. I can understand how these things can happen. Music is so subjective anyway, that even if you work with partners that you've been working for a long time, if you play a G chord and that's what you feel, who is the person next to you to tell you that chord is wrong? It's not a nice chord. You should play, D instead. It's like, no, but I want to play G. And you end up fighting because music is subjective. And the beautiful thing is when you kind of find the balance, I guess, is the compromise where everything kind of gels, like two different worlds kind of join the new, kind of with amazing, maybe like Pink Floyd experiences, people kind of fighting, and you get these amazing things happening. Yeah, you just gotta find a way. It's a lot of it's psychological. As a producer, as a brother with an artist, you have to sometimes just take a deep breath and put the gun away. That's Phil Spector. Well, apparently,
yeah. Well, we run over a little bit, but I've got a few more, just a handful, of questions. And if anybody does have any more questions that they want to ask, now's your chance. Final chances to get those questions in. But actually, what I'll do now is, we've had a few questions about people, and they're all kind of of a similar nature. But what I'll do is I'll pick one from Charlotte KED 755. What are your studio must-haves in terms of equipment? And adding on to that, if you were starting out in the industry again and you had a limited budget, so there's two parts to this. What are your studio must-haves? And if you were starting out, what would be your core bits of gear that you would get?
Start with the computer and software. It can be any software. I've got my software that I like to use. It could be anything, that makes you, that helps you make music. One of the most important thing is your actual room. Most people ignore that. They think I'll get the best speakers, I'll get this and I'll get that, not realizing that the room is the most important thing in the whole equation. Your room is what makes your studio sound the way it sounds. So I think in terms of equipment, your room should be the most important thing. After that, you need, obviously, you gotta have your converter. Your converter is your, is your glasses into what you're supposed to see on the speakers, if you look in visual terms, and then your speakers, and then hopefully you'd be able to make music and listen to and learn what it is that you have. So yeah, your room is the most important thing, then your converter, then your speakers, and if you can't afford it, then use headphones. A lot of people use headphones. I personally can't do it. I'll check mixes on headphones, but I can't mix on headphones. It's I've tried. I try everything. I never say I'll never say I'll never do it. I keep learning. I keep reinventing myself as well every year. So maybe I will mix on headphones eventually. But I'm happy that I don't need to. I've got beautiful speakers. I've got beautiful, I've got my prisms and my speakers, and I'm, very, very happy. So
would you say, considering what everybody we talked about, and you've worked on a vast array of different material from different genres of artists, you've kind of hit the nail on the head that you converters, your computer, your speakers, your room, get those right. Because if you are starting out in this industry, or you are already doing it, but you're looking to broaden your horizons and work with different genres and demographics and whatever, your monitors, your room, your interface, they're all your reference points, and they're never going to change. But for each of these other things that you're working with, these genres of music, it could be a Gregorian chant choir, or it could be drum and bass, or it could be pop, or it could be whatever it might be. They're going to need different styles of microphone, different styles potentially of outboard. And actually at that point you can go, well, until I really know what it is I want to do, or how I want the bits of gear that I do like, you can always rent them in.
Very true. Very true. I guess, microphone is once we can expand it, obviously microphone is the next most important thing, together with the preamp, that you use the microphone to go into the computer. And like anything else, it's very difficult. The price of these things is exponential, because to get a really good mic, you can get a good mic for 500 quid, or maybe 1,000. Then you can get an even better mic for up to 2,000. But then from then on, the jump to get like an excellent microphone, the jump is quite massive. It's you're talking about spending. I've got the present over here in mind. The door. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, I'm still going, but you can come and sit down. Sorry.
It's all right. Well, I won't keep you long, Matt. We'll wind it up. So, okay. So just finally, then, what are you currently working on, and what can we expect from MATT SCHWARTZ in 2022?
Well, obviously YUNGBLUD's next few records, we still don't know which one is going to come out. It's very exciting. Bryn was an amazing new artist. She's gonna we've done something very interesting with her. We combined kind of rock with drill, straight with rock drill. It's very interesting. So that's coming up end of Feb. There's a new artist on EMI called Masterpiece. Is very exciting. And yeah, these are the main kind of things that are coming up at the moment. There's a lot more things, but until they're done,
no problem. Well, do you know what, Matt? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening. I know that everybody's watching. We've had some fantastic comments and really complimentary about all this, and I'm sure a lot of people will be watching it back afterwards. But thanks ever so much for your time this evening. Stay safe, and I hope you have a constructive evening here on in, and a successful 2022. Thanks for your time, Matt. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.